I created this dental SEO cheat sheet because I think that dentists need a updated list of priorities for their marketing when it comes to SEO in the artificial intelligence age, in the generative AI world. There's even this marketing phrase that I don't think many dentists are familiar with at all called zero click marketing or zero click results. And zero click just means that patients aren't even arriving at your website. They're just landing on Google or ChatGPT, getting the results that they need, and maybe still contacting your practice, but they're never even hitting your website. And so this cheat sheet has some additional information that I think is going to be really critical for you to consider. So, first off, on page SEO, it still matters. It's definitely not something that you want to discount in the world of this new type of optimization, which a lot of people are calling GEO or generative engine optimization. So you don't want to neglect your website. You probably don't want to draw on your laptop like the AI image here suggests, but it was visually interesting, so I left it. You still want to include your city name in your website, for example. That's about as old school as SEO can get, but it's never gone away because Google needs to know where your practice is. You need to have a unique page of content for every service that you want to promote. Not necessarily every service you offer. I have a lot of doctors who, they want us to build a website that shows everything they do, but then later on are like, why are you guys posting about XYZ service? The one I always pick on is root canals because very few doctors that I work with, if they're not endodontists, want to promote root canals. And so it's like they'll include it in their onboarding paperwork that they do that, but then they don't want to promote it. If you don't want to promote it, you don't need a page about it. But if you want to show up in generative results, the AI overview on Google, etc., and you don't have a page about that service, you're not going to have success. So each page of content needs to be unique. It needs to be engineered, programmed so that Google can pick out the different parts and understand what they're getting. And when I say Google, I guess I need to clarify that there are all sorts of robots hitting your websites these days. And so they read in a different way than humans do. We read with our eyes. AI reads with a computer program, and computer programs have the ability to ingest text more efficiently if it's programmed in a certain way. One of the specific tactics that you need to make sure your marketing company is using is schema markup, especially where you've got frequently asked questions. Those are huge in our world today for content because all of these bots are trying to have answers to patient questions literally when they're asking them with their voice with these AI assistants, even just stuff that's been around for years now, like Alexa and Google Home and Apple Home and all of these, Siri even. These bots use these type of arrangements in their processing of how they store the information, how they access the information, and how they present the information. So you can make their job easier by making sure your company that you use for your website is presenting original content that's presented to these bots in a clear, easy to access way, specifically in how it's programmed. Your images and file names, all of this is kind of resurfacing as a priority just because it's more bot forward in terms of how your website is being accessed. Fewer humans are hitting your websites, remember, but your websites are still your way of communicating with these bots at this point. Internal links are also still important because they help Google and all these other bots understand your priorities and help them get around your website. So some of these are really fundamental SEO tactics, but a lot of them were kind of falling by the wayside because of just frankly, for a while now, Google has made organic SEO harder to achieve success with and has pushed organic rankings down, underneath ads, etc. And so, this is kind of fallen out of vogue to prioritize some of these things, but they are still important. Your Google business profile is one of the most key components of marketing these days. And it's such low lying fruit, but it does take work to update and keep updated. And so, you need to make sure that you own your Google business profile, that you're literally the Google has different profile user levels. And so you need to make sure that you are your profile's owner and that your company has the access that they need in order to make the updates. And so adding photos every month, adding question and answer content again is so helpful because it shows that you've got answers, you're an authority in the space, but it gives these bots the information that they're hungry for. Posting weekly with I have here SEO rich content, but really what it is a content that answers patient questions using the words that they might use in the question and in the answer. You can post the question yourself and answer it yourself. You don't have to wait for patients to pose a question. So if you've got a question that comes up all the time, you can put that in your Google business profile. You should, and you should answer it. And then reviews. We've been banging this drum for a long time, and I'm going to continue to bang it because it is a way for you to prove that people like you and that people know about you. And of course, your competitors are doing it. So you need to have these reviews coming in on a regular basis. They need to say glowing things about you. They need to be 5 stars, and you need to respond to them. And your company should be helping you with that. At Pro Impressions, we help our customers ask for reviews. We help them respond to reviews, and we keep that information front and center in our ProView Analytics dashboard so that they know, are we getting reviews? And our account managers stay on top of our customers and say, look, you have to get these or your rankings are going to suffer. Even your ad results will improve when you get regular reviews. So don't neglect that. Your online reputation, not just in reviews, but in reviews, does impact your rankings, as I said, but it also helps these bots understand whether or not they should recommend your office. So you can think of it kind of as a twofold benefit because Google will use it for its rankings, but also humans will use it as an indicator of whether or not they should actually trust you, and convert when they see your Google business profile or other ratings. Even on Copilot, they're going to look at reviews. Copilot is Microsoft's AI chatbot. So the other local SEO signals are going to be things like your name, address, and phone number being consistent. If you have multiple locations, you need to have that consistent for each location. Each location needs to have its own profiles that are accurate and updated, which is a challenge, but it needs to be done. Don't skip that, or you'll lose out to business owners who have profiles for just their one location. And everything needs to be matching everywhere. Your domain name, your phone number, everything everywhere. You can have more than one phone number, but you do need to have your main phone number be registered with each location, and your address needs to be written as closely to identically as possible. This is all minutia that you don't want to do yourself, but your marketing company should be ready and willing to do this for you on a regular basis. And then where you can, get local links from news websites, from local organizations, from local authorities, local government, even if you can, because of your involvement. Press releases are still valuable if done well, if done appropriately. When you start offering a new service, you need to be releasing a press release to get some local coverage, because that will be it's not going to be a home run, but over time, if you're practicing that, you're going to have more local links going into your website than your competitors. And that's going to make a huge difference when you're trying to be first in the rankings for different keyword phrases. So don't neglect that. Content, content, content. I've said this a couple times, but you need to add content to your website in the form of like patient education articles is what we do. People used to call it blogs, but honestly, blogs are old. I don't have a child who's like, I want to launch a blog someday. No, they all want to have a YouTube channel someday. They want to be known, but it's not going to be via a blog. And so And you don't want your website getting confused with a sort of like article directory or anything, but you do need to add content to your website on a regular basis. And you need to have a marketing company that's going to do that for you, and that's going to stay on top of what your competitors are doing and be ready to fight back, essentially. Write content that includes things that you've missed or that are new. But this content also needs to be unique to your website, not just in the fact that it's not found anywhere else, but it needs to factor in the way that you do things, the brands that you use, the name of your doctors. It needs to not be super generic, because the more unique it is, the more that these AI entities will pay attention and realize, oh, these guys are different. I need to pay attention. And this gives me new information I can't find anywhere else. They value that. So again, be thinking in terms of question and answer, because that is how a lot of these AI entities are positioning and packaging and storing their information when they're serving it up to their users, and whether when they're ingesting it too, because these patients that you want in your chairs are going to be using these chatbots to engage question and answer wise. And so video is also something that is really difficult, even in the age of AI, for your competitors to do. So if that is true, then you need to know that video is going to be valuable to you. If it's hard, it's valuable, basically. And if you want to beat the competition, you got to do what they're not doing. And so at Pro Impressions, we have a tool called ProView Social. It's actually also embedded in ProView Analytics, so that you can, as you're going through and doing kind of a marketing checkup, a quick hit record and record a question and answer that then we can take and run with in our social media efforts. So if you haven't checked that out, I've got it on screen here. It's super critical for you to have something like this. And so I highly suggest you reach out to me, and we can chat about we can chat about whether or not we're a good fit in terms of, a marketing company working with your dental practice, whether you're a specialist, whether you work for a DSO, maybe you manage a DSO and you need someone to really take the reins of your office's marketing and, just give you easy access to the results, and, a partner who can plan with you on what you're promoting over the next quarter. That's us. So don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks.